The federal building in Lower Manhattan smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Elena Moretti had been sitting in the interrogation room for 3 hours, watching her reflection in the two-way mirror and wondering how her life had derailed so completely in a single afternoon. The door opened. Special Agent David Chen entered carrying a thick file, his partner, Agent Rivera, close behind. They'd been polite during the arrest, almost apologetic, but that hadn't made the handcuffs any less humiliating as her neighbors watched from their windows. Elena. Chen sat across from her, sliding the folder to the center of the table. Let's talk about your options. She'd already heard them. Identity fraud, falsifying loan documents, wire fraud. The words had blurred together during her first panic, but the numbers had been crystal clear. 10 years federal prison. Minimum. My mother needed treatment. Her voice came out hoarse. She'd been crying in the holding cell, mascara probably streaked down her face. Stage 4 ovarian cancer. Insurance wouldn't cover the experimental therapy. I needed to qualify for the medical loan. You created fake pay stubs showing income 3 times what you actually make as a translator. Rivera's tone wasn't unkind, just factual. That's fraud, Elena. You knew it when you did it. Yes, she'd known. But watching Mama waste away, watching the light dim in eyes that had always sparkled with life, that knowledge hadn't stopped her fingers from typing false numbers into the loan application. The treatment is working, Elena whispered. She's in remission. If I go to prison, if the loan gets recalled, your mother loses access to the medication. The cancer comes back. Chen opened the folder, revealing surveillance photos. We understand. That's why we're offering you an alternative. Elena looked down at the photos. A man in an impeccably tailored suit stood outside an Italian restaurant, surrounded by men who moved with the casual alertness of professional security. Even in a still image, his presence dominated the frame. Tall, dark-haired, commanding the space around him with unconscious authority. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Dante Marcello, Rivera said, head of the Marcello crime family, 38 years old, runs everything from the Brooklyn docks to Atlantic City casinos, estimated criminal revenue of $400 million annually. More photos. Dante at a construction site talking to workers. Dante at a charity gala in a tuxedo that probably cost more than Elena's annual rent. Dante entering a church, his hand on an elderly woman's elbow. His mother, Elena guessed from the resemblance. He doesn't look like a criminal, she said quietly. The smart ones never do. Chen leaned forward. Dante Marcello is one of the most dangerous men on the East Coast. He is also one of the most careful. We've been building a RICO case for 5 years. Every time we get close, witnesses recant. Evidence disappears. He's insulated by layers of legitimate business and family loyalty we can't penetrate. What does this have to do with me? Rivera pulled out another document. You're a freelance translator. Italian, Spanish, French. Fluent in all 3. Your grandmother was from Sicily. You grew up speaking Italian at home. You have no criminal record beyond this loan fraud, and you're exactly the kind of person Dante Marcello would never suspect. The implications settled over Elena like ice water. You want me to get close to him? It wasn't a question. We want you to work for him, Chen corrected. The Marcello family conducts business internationally. They need translators for meetings with Italian associates, contract negotiations, communications with suppliers. We've already planted information suggesting you're available for hire through a service they use regularly. Elena's hands trembled in her lap. You want me to spy on a mob boss? We want you to wear a wire during business meetings, record conversations. Help us build evidence that will stand up in court. Chen's expression hardened. In exchange, The fraud charges disappear. Your mother's treatment continues uninterrupted. You avoid prison. And if I refuse? We file charges tomorrow. The loan gets recalled. Your mother loses her medication. Rivera's voice softened slightly. Elena, we know it's not fair. But you made a choice when you committed fraud. Now you have to make another one. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. How long? Elena asked, her voice barely audible. Until we have enough evidence to make arrests. 6 months, maybe a year. Chen closed the folder. We'll train you. Teach you how to wear a wire without detection, how to guide conversations toward incriminating topics, how to stay safe. Stay safe, Elena repeated hollowly. You're asking me to betray a man who murders people who cross him. Dante Marcello is a businessman first, Rivera said. He doesn't kill people randomly. As long as he doesn't suspect you're working for us, you'll be safer than you think. You're just a translator doing a job. Elena looked at the photos again. In one, Dante was laughing at something, his whole face transformed by genuine amusement. He had the kind of smile that made you want to smile back. Warm and open and completely at odds with the monster the FBI described. But federal agents didn't build 5-year cases against innocent men. Okay, she whispered. I'll do it. 3 weeks of training followed. Elena learned how to wear a wire, the recorder taped against her ribs, the microphone hidden in jewelry or buttons. She practiced staying calm while lying, controlling her breathing and heart rate, maintaining eye contact when every instinct screamed to look away. They taught her to guide conversations subtly, to ask questions that seemed innocent but might prompt incriminating responses, to remember details without writing anything down because notes could be discovered. Dante is smart, Chen warned during one session. He'll test you. Ask questions about your background, your family, your financial situation. Every answer needs to be true or close enough to true that it can't be disproven. So Elena memorized her cover story. The loan fraud became medical debt she was working to pay off. True. Her mother's cancer became the reason she needed higher-paying translation work. True. Her grandmother's Sicilian heritage became a connection to the language and culture. Completely true. The lies would be in what she didn't say. The FBI involvement. The wire. The real reason she was willing to work for a crime family. On a gray April morning, Elena's phone rang with an unknown number. Miss Moretti? A woman's voice, professional and crisp. My name is Caroline. I work for a private client who requires translation services for an upcoming business meeting. Your name came highly recommended. Elena's pulse quickened. This was it. What kind of meeting? Contract negotiations with Italian investors, legal documents, financial terms. Nothing overly technical, but accuracy is essential. The meeting is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. Are you available? Yes. Elena forced her voice steady. What's the rate? $500 for an estimated 3-hour session. Is that acceptable? 3 times her usual rate. That's very generous. My employer values quality work. I'll text you the address. Please arrive 15 minutes early. Caroline paused. And Miss Moretti? Discretion is appreciated. My employer's business dealings are private. The call ended. Elena stared at her phone, Chen's words echoing in her head. You'll be safer than you think. You're just a translator doing a job. Except she wasn't. She was bait. A weapon. A wire wrapped in flesh. And good intentions. The address led to a restaurant in Little Italy, Giordano's, a family establishment that had occupied the same corner for 60 years. Elena arrived at 1:45, wearing a navy dress the FBI had provided and the wire taped against her ribs. Just breathe, Chen had said that morning during the final briefing. We'll be monitoring from a van 2 blocks away. If anything feels wrong, if you feel threatened at all, touch your left earring twice. We'll extract you immediately. Now, standing outside Giordano's, Elena touched the small gold hoop in her left ear. Insurance, escape route, the illusion of control. She pushed through the door. The restaurant was closed to regular customers. Chairs stacked on most tables, only one section in the back prepared for use. An older man in an expensive suit looked up from where he stood near the kitchen. "Miss Moretti?" He approached with a warm smile. "I'm Vincent. Thank you for coming. Mr. Marcello will be here shortly. Can I get you anything? Coffee? Water?" "Water would be great, thank you." Vincent guided her to the prepared section where a table was set for 6. Documents were already arranged in neat stacks: contracts, financial statements, architectural plans, all in Italian. Elena took the offered water with shaking hands. Through the window, she could see a black sedan pulling up to the curb. 2 men in dark suits emerged first, scanning the street with professional efficiency. Then, Dante Marcello stepped out. The photos hadn't captured the reality of him. He moved with unconscious grace, power held in check by perfect tailoring and practiced civility. His suit was charcoal gray, his white shirt open at the collar, no tie, business but not corporate. Dark hair swept back from a face that was all sharp angles and strong lines, softened only by eyes that took in everything with calculating intelligence. He entered the restaurant and the space seemed to contract around him. Vincent immediately straightened. The security detail took positions by the door and windows. And Dante's gaze found Elena with laser focus. "Miss Moretti." He crossed the distance between them, hand extended. "Thank you for accommodating the short notice. I'm Dante Marcello." His handshake was firm, warm, his skin slightly rough in a way that suggested he did more than sign papers. Elena forced herself to meet his eyes, deep brown, assessing, sharp enough to cut through any pretense. "It's not a problem," she managed. "I appreciate the opportunity." "Caroline mentioned you speak Sicilian as well as standard Italian. That's uncommon." It wasn't quite a question, but the pause invited response. "My grandmother was from Palermo. She refused to let the language die with her generation." Elena smiled, and it felt almost natural. "I grew up speaking it at home." Something shifted in Dante's expression, not quite warmth, but interest. "Palermo? My own family has roots there. Small world." 2 more men entered. The Italian investors, Elena realized. Older, distinguished, speaking rapid Italian as they greeted Dante with the kind of deference that suggested long association. The meeting began. Elena translated contract terms, financial projections, construction timelines for what appeared to be a legitimate real estate development in Atlantic City. The Italians represented a European investment firm. Dante represented the development company. Everything was above board, documented, legal. Nothing the FBI could use. Hours passed. Elena's initial terror faded into focused concentration. She translated precisely, keeping her voice neutral, her expression professional. The wire recorded every word, every boring, completely legitimate word. As the meeting wound down, Dante stood to shake hands with the investors. "Elena," he said as the others gathered their materials, "stay a moment. I'd like to discuss another project." Her heart lurched. The investors left, with Vincent escorting them. The security detail remained by the exits, but far enough away for privacy. Dante returned to his seat, studying her with that unnerving intensity. "You're very good at this. Caroline was right to recommend you." "Thank you. I have ongoing business dealings that require regular translation, not just Italian, Spanish, occasionally French. Contracts, negotiations, correspondence. I'd like to offer you a retainer. 20,000 a month for availability as needed." Elena's mind reeled. $20,000, more than she made in 6 months of freelance work. That's extremely generous, she said carefully. It's market rate for someone with your skills and discretion. Dante leaned back in his chair, relaxed but watchful. I value loyalty, Elena. People who work for me are protected, compensated fairly, and treated with respect. In return, I expect professionalism and confidentiality. Of course. Good. He pulled a business card from his pocket, handing it across the table. This is my direct number. Caroline will coordinate scheduling, but if you ever need anything at all, you call me. My people take care of their own. Elena took the card, her fingers brushing his. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through her. Electricity and warning combined. I should mention, Dante said quietly, I'm aware of your mother's situation. Stage 4 ovarian cancer. Experimental treatment at Marcello Memorial Hospital. Blood drained from Elena's face. How did you? I make it my business to know who works for me. The hospital is one of my family's foundations. I reviewed your mother's file personally. His expression softened slightly. She's responding well to treatment. I'll make sure the medical team continues to prioritize her care. It should have felt threatening. Instead, it felt like a lifeline. Thank you, Elena whispered. Dante stood buttoning his suit jacket. Go home, Elena. Get some rest. Caroline will be in touch about your next assignment. He walked toward the exit, his security detail falling into formation around him. At the door, he paused and looked back. Welcome to the family. Then he was gone, leaving Elena alone with her wire still recording, and the terrifying realization that Dante Marcello wasn't the monster the FBI had described. He was so much more dangerous than that. He was human. 3 months into working for Dante Marcello, Elena had translated contracts worth $200 million, attended 14 business meetings, and recorded over 60 hours of audio for the FBI. None of it was useful. He's clean, she told Chen during their weekly debrief at a coffee shop in Queens. Every meeting is legitimate business, real estate developments, import-export logistics, restaurant acquisitions. If he's running criminal operations, he's not discussing them anywhere near me. Chen stirred his coffee with mechanical precision. He's testing you, building trust before he exposes you to anything sensitive. Stay patient. It's been 3 months. RICO cases take years. You're doing fine. He slid an envelope across the table. Next week, there's a meeting with associates from Chicago, the Moretti family. No relation to you, different spelling. They're suspected of running sports betting operations through legitimate businesses. We need you to wear the wire. See if Dante discusses anything about gambling or money laundering. Elena pocketed the envelope without opening it. She knew what was inside. Briefing documents, photos of the Chicago associates, questions the FBI wanted her to subtly work into conversation. My mother's next scan is Tuesday, she said quietly. The results will show if the cancer is still in remission. Chen's expression softened slightly. How is she doing? Good. Really good, actually. Elena traced the rim of her coffee cup. Dante had the hospital assign her a private nurse, upgraded her to a single room. He visits her sometimes when he's doing his monthly tour of the facility. He's manipulating you, making you feel indebted. Maybe. Elena thought about Mama's face lighting up when Dante stopped by her room last week, bringing flowers and asking about the book she was reading. Or maybe he actually cares about the people in his hospital. Don't forget who he is, Elena. Don't let the nice suits and charity work make you forget what he does. But that was the problem. After 3 months of working closely with Dante, Elena was having trouble reconciling the FBI's monster with the man who remembered his employees' birthdays, who spoke fluent Italian with his grandmother every Sunday, who'd spent an hour last week helping the restaurant staff set up for a coworker's retirement party. I know who he is, she said, though she wasn't sure that was true anymore. The meeting with the Chicago associates took place at Dante's private office in Tribeca, a converted warehouse with exposed brick walls, floor-to-ceiling windows, and artwork that probably cost more than Elena's apartment building. She arrived early, as had become her habit. Dante's assistant Maria, a sharp-eyed woman in her 50s who missed nothing, greeted her with genuine warmth. "Elena, Mr. Marcello is running a few minutes behind. Can I get you anything? Espresso? Water?" "Espresso would be perfect, thank you." Maria disappeared toward the kitchen. Elena stood at the windows overlooking the Hudson River, the wire taped against her ribs feeling heavier than usual. In her purse, her phone had a direct line to Chen. 2 taps on the screen would bring FBI agents crashing through the doors. She'd never had to use it. "Admiring the view?" Dante's voice came from behind her. Elena turned. He wore dark slacks and a white dress shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms marked with scars she'd noticed before, but never asked about. His hair was slightly disheveled, as if he'd been running his hands through it. "It's beautiful," she said. "You can see all the way to New Jersey." "On clear days, yes." He moved to stand beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and understated with notes of cedar and bergamot. "I bought this building because of this view. Reminds me that the city is bigger than any one person's problems." There was something in his voice. Weariness, maybe. Elena glanced at him and noticed the tension in his jaw, the shadows under his eyes. "Rough morning?" she asked before she could stop herself. Dante's lips quirked in a half-smile. "Is it that obvious?" "You look tired." Diplomatic way of saying I look terrible. He moved toward his desk, gesturing for her to sit in one of the leather chairs facing it. "Family business? My cousin's son got arrested last night. Drunk driving, resisting arrest. Stupid kid thinks the Marcello name means he's untouchable." Elena sat, watching him pour 2 glasses of water from the carafe on his desk. "What will you do?" "Let him sit in jail for 48 hours. Learn that actions have consequences." Dante handed her a glass. "His mother is furious with me, but sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is let them fail." It was such a reasonable, almost parental response that Elena felt her carefully maintained defenses crack slightly. "My mother used to say the same thing," she said quietly. "Before she got sick. She'd tell me that making mistakes was how we learned to be better." "Your mother sounds wise." Dante settled into his chair. "How is she doing? I saw in her chart that she has a scan scheduled this week." "Tuesday. We find out if the treatment is still working. And if it's not?" Elena's throat tightened. "Then we try something else. We keep fighting." Dante studied her for a long moment. "You're very loyal to her. That's admirable." "She's my mother. She gave up everything to raise me after my father left. Being loyal is the least I can do. Family loyalty is something I understand well." His voice carried weight, layers of meaning Elena didn't fully grasp. "It's the foundation of everything that matters." Before Elena could respond, Maria knocked on the door. "Mr. Marcello, the Chicago delegation has arrived." The meeting lasted 2 hours. 3 men from Chicago, older, rough around the edges despite expensive suits, discussed a proposal to partner on a sports bar chain. The conversation covered locations, licensing, profit projections. Dante asked pointed questions about financing and local partnerships. Nothing illegal. Nothing even remotely suspicious. Elena translated when the discussion shifted to Italian. One of the Chicago men had family connections in Naples and preferred his native language for financial details. She guided the conversation subtly toward the topics Chen wanted covered, asking about revenue streams and cash flow management. The men answered openly. Everything was documented, above board, designed to withstand any audit. When they left, Dante stood at the windows again, hands in his pockets, staring out at the city. "Something's bothering you," Elena said. She should leave. The meeting was over. Her job done. But something kept her in the chair. "They're lying," Dante said without turning around. "About the financing. The numbers don't add up. They're either laundering money through the sports bars or they're in debt to someone who'll use the partnership to gain leverage over my operations. What will you do? Due diligence, background checks, financial audits, surveillance on their known associates." He turned to face her. "And if they're trying to use me, I'll make sure they regret it." The casual way he said it, the implicit threat delivered in the same tone he'd used to discuss his cousin's son, reminded Elena exactly who she was dealing with. "You're afraid of me now," Dante observed. "I can see it in your eyes." "I'm not afraid." "Liar." But his tone was gentle, almost amused. "You should be afraid, Elena. I'm not a good man. I do things that would horrify you if you knew the details. But I'm honest about what I am. That's more than most people can say." Elena stood, gathering her purse. "I should go. Stay." It wasn't quite a command, but close. "Have dinner with me. Not business. Just two people who've spent 3 months working together and barely know each other beyond contracts and translations." "That's not appropriate." "Why? Because you work for me?" Dante moved closer, not threatening, just present. "I'm not your boss, Elena. You're an independent contractor. And I'm asking you to dinner as someone who finds you interesting. Say yes." She should say no. Should maintain professional distance. Should remember the wire taped to her ribs and the FBI listening to every word. "Yes," she heard herself say. If you're hooked on this story, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. Your support means everything and helps me bring you more emotional stories like this one. Dinner was at a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, not one of Dante's properties, just a neighborhood place run by a family who'd known his grandmother. They greeted him with warmth, but not deference, treating him like a favorite nephew rather than a crime boss. "My nonna used to bring me here every Sunday after church," Dante explained as they settled into a corner booth. "Best carbonara in the city, and I'll fight anyone who disagrees." The owner's wife, an elderly woman who introduced herself as Sophia, hugged Dante and immediately began speaking rapid Italian. Elena caught fragments, questions about his mother, his sister, when he was going to settle down and give his family grandchildren. Dante bore it with patience and obvious affection, responding in the same dialect. When Sophia finally bustled away to the kitchen, he smiled sheepishly. "Sorry, she's known me since I was 8. Still treats me like a child." "It's sweet," Elena said honestly. "My grandmother was the same way. Right up until she died, she was trying to set me up with the grandson of every friend she'd ever made." "Did it work? Any of the setups?" "God, no. They were all terrible. Nice guys, but completely wrong for me." Elena accepted the wine Dante poured. "What about you? The FBI files say you're unmarried. No children." Dante's eyebrows rose. "The FBI files?" Elena's heart stopped. She'd just referenced information she shouldn't have. Knowledge that came from briefing documents, not public record. "I mean, I assumed. You don't wear a ring. You've never mentioned a family." She was babbling, scrambling to recover. "I didn't mean—" "Relax, Elena." Dante's expression was unreadable. "I know you Googled me. Everyone does. And yes, I'm unmarried. I was engaged once, about 10 years ago. It didn't work out." "What happened?" "She wanted me to choose between her and the family business. I chose the business." He swirled his wine. "In retrospect, probably the right decision for both of us. She's married to a dentist now, living in Connecticut with 3 kids. Much better life than I could have given her. You don't know that? I do, actually. Dante's voice was quiet, certain. My world is dangerous, Elena. The people I care about become targets. Leverage. My sister lives in Boston under a different last name because associating with me puts her at risk. My mother has a security detail everywhere she goes. That's not a life anyone should choose willingly. Elena thought about the wire, about Chen's warnings, about the very real danger she was in just sitting across from Dante. Why do it then? She asked. If it costs you so much, why stay in the business? Because it's who I am. My grandfather built this organization to protect our community when no one else would. My father expanded it, made it stronger. I've spent my entire life preparing to lead the family. He met her eyes. You don't walk away from that kind of legacy. It's in your blood. The food arrived. Carbonara that lived up to Dante's promise. Perfectly prepared saltimbocca. Bread still warm from the oven. They ate and talked. The conversation flowing easily between childhood memories and current events. Favorite books and opinions on city politics. Elena found herself laughing at his dry observations about Manhattan's social scene, sharing stories about her grandmother's stubborn insistence on cooking everything from scratch. The Wire recorded it all. This completely innocent dinner that felt more real than any conversation she'd had in months. After dinner, Dante walked her to her car. The Brooklyn streets were quiet at this hour, streetlights casting pools of amber light on the sidewalk. Thank you for tonight, Elena said, unlocking her door. I had a really good time. So did I. Dante stood, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Can I ask you something personal? Okay. Why do you still wear your grandmother's ring? He gestured to the simple gold band on her right hand. I've noticed you touch it when you're nervous or thinking hard about something. Elena looked down at the ring, worn smooth by decades of wear. She gave it to me the day before she died, told me it would remind me to stay true to who I was, no matter what life threw at me. Good advice. I'm trying to follow it. Even as Elena said it, she felt the wire against her skin, the weight of her lies pressing down. It's harder than it sounds sometimes. The right thing usually is. Dante's hand came up, his fingers brushing her cheek so gently she almost didn't feel it. Get home safely, Elena. I'll have Caroline send you next week's schedule. He stepped back, creating distance. Elena slid into her car, her heart hammering for reasons that had nothing to do with fear. As she drove away, she saw him in the rearview mirror, standing on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, watching until her taillights disappeared around the corner. The next morning, Elena met Chen at their usual coffee shop. She handed over the recording device, watched him plug it into his laptop, listened to her own voice translating contracts and discussing carbonara. Nothing useful, Chen said after an hour of review. He's keeping you completely isolated from any criminal activity. Maybe because there isn't any, maybe he's actually just a businessman. Chen's look was sharp. Don't do this, Elena. Don't start believing his act. It's not an act. I've spent 3 months with him. He's... What? A good guy? A misunderstood philanthropist? Chen leaned forward. He's a mobster, Elena. His organization runs illegal gambling, loan sharking, protection rackets. People who cross him disappear. Don't forget that. But Elena was forgetting. Or rather, she was seeing past it to the man underneath, the one who visited his grandmother every Sunday, who remembered his employees' birthdays, who'd looked at her last night like she was something precious. I need more from you, Chen continued. We're running out of time. The case review is in 3 months, and if we don't have something substantial, the investigation gets shut down. What do you want me to do? Get closer to him. Personal, not just professional. He's interested in you. Use that. People say things to lovers they'd never say to employees. Elena's stomach turned. You want me to sleep with him for information. I want you to build trust however necessary. If that includes a romantic relationship, then yes. Chen's expression was implacable. You signed up for this, Elena. Your mother's treatment depends on your cooperation. Don't forget that either. She wanted to argue, to refuse, to walk away from the whole sordid arrangement, but Mama's face flashed in her mind, smiling, healthy, alive because of treatment Elena's fraud had funded. Okay, she whispered. I'll try. The opportunity came 2 weeks later. Dante called her directly, not through Caroline, his voice tight with stress Elena had never heard before. I need you to come to the hospital. There's been a situation with your mother. Terror flooded through her. What happened? Is she? She's fine, physically fine, but there was an incident with another patient's family member. Your mother tried to intervene, and things got complicated. She's asking for you. Elena made it to Marcello Memorial in 20 minutes, breaking every speed limit. She found Dante in the oncology wing waiting room, still in a suit from whatever meeting he'd left to come here. What happened? She demanded. A patient's son was harassing the nursing staff. Your mother witnessed it, told him to leave them alone. He pushed her. She fell. Dante's jaw was tight. Security removed him. Your mother is fine. Some bruising, no serious injury. But she's shaken up. Elena ran to her mother's room. Mama sat on the bed, a nurse checking her vitals, a bruise already forming on her shoulder. Mija, Mama said, using the Spanish endearment from Elena's childhood. I'm fine. Don't look so scared. You fell. You have cancer, Mama. You can't be getting into confrontations. He was being cruel to those girls. Someone had to say something. Mama's voice was firm despite the tremor in her hands. Your Nana didn't raise me to watch bullies and stay silent. Elena wanted to laugh and cry simultaneously. Of course Mama had intervened. It was exactly what she'd taught Elena to do. Stand up, speak out, protect the vulnerable. The nurse finished her examination and left. Elena sat on the edge of the bed, taking her mother's hand carefully. You scared me, she said quietly. I scared myself a little too. Mama squeezed her fingers. But that young man who came, Mr. Marcello, he was very kind. Sat with me until security arrived. Made sure the nurses knew to call you. Elena glanced toward the door where Dante stood in the hallway, giving them privacy but staying close. He's my employer, Elena explained. I translate for his business meetings. Mama's eyes were too knowing. And does your employer usually rush to hospitals for all his translators? Or just the ones he looks at the way he looks at you? Mama. I'm sick, Mija, not blind. Mama touched Elena's face gently. He's a good man. I can see it. But he's also dangerous. Be careful. I will. After the doctor confirmed Mama could go home, Elena found Dante still waiting. He drove them both to Mama's apartment, a small place in Queens that Elena had furnished with second-hand furniture and determination. Thank you, Elena said, as they helped Mama settle onto the couch. For calling me. For staying with her. Of course. Dante's attention was on Mama, making sure she was comfortable. Can I get you anything, Mrs. Moretti? Water? Tea? You've done enough, thank you. But Mama smiled at him with genuine warmth. My daughter is lucky to work for someone so considerate. After making sure Mama was truly fine, Dante walked Elena to the door. I'll have someone check on her tomorrow, he said quietly. Make sure she has groceries, anything she needs. You don't have to do that. I know I don't have to. I want to. His hand found hers, the contact sending electricity up her arm. Your family matters to you. That makes them matter to me. Elena looked up at him. This dangerous man who'd dropped everything to help her mother, who stood in her cramped apartment like he belonged there, who touched her like she was something fragile and precious. Dante, she whispered. He kissed her, soft at first, questioning, giving her every chance to pull away. When she didn't, when she leaned into him instead, the kiss deepened. His hand slid into her hair, his other arm wrapping around her waist, pulling her closer. Elena's world narrowed to the taste of him, the warmth of his mouth, the solid strength of his body against hers, the wire pressed against her ribs, recording every sound, every breath. She was kissing a mobster while the FBI listened. She was falling for the man she was supposed to betray. She was in so much trouble. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I've wanted to do that for weeks," he admitted. "Me too. This complicates things." "I know. I don't care." His thumb brushed her lower lip. "Do you?" Elena should care, should remember Chen's warnings and the wire and the fact that every moment of this intimacy was being recorded for federal prosecutors. "No," she lied. "I don't care either." He kissed her again, slower this time, deeper. And Elena let herself fall, knowing the landing would destroy her, but unable to stop. 6 months after that first kiss in her mother's apartment, Elena had stopped counting the lies. She lied to the FBI when she filed reports claiming Dante discussed criminal activities he never mentioned. She lied to Dante every time she wore a wire to dinner, to his office, to the bedroom of his Tribeca penthouse where they'd made love while federal agents listened to every whispered endearment. She lied to herself when she promised this was just a job, just survival, just doing what was necessary to keep her mother alive. The truth was simpler and more devastating. She'd fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Dante Marcello. "You're distracted," Dante observed one evening in late October. They sat on his penthouse terrace, the city glittering below them like fallen stars. His arm was around her shoulders, her head resting against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. "Just thinking," Elena said. About the wire taped to my ribs? About Chen's latest threat to recall my mother's treatment if I don't get something incriminating? About the fact that I'm betraying the man I love, and he has no idea? About how different my life is now," she said instead. 6 months ago, I was barely making rent. Now I'm here with you." Dante's fingers traced patterns on her shoulder. "Do you regret it? Us?" "Never. That, at least, was true." "Do you?" "I regret that I can't give you a normal life, that being with me puts you at risk." His voice dropped lower. "I regret that I've made you a target just by caring about you." Elena sat up to look at him. "What do you mean, a target?" "My enemies know about you now. They know you matter to me." Dante's expression was grim. "There was an incident last week. Someone followed you from your mother's apartment to your car. My security team intervened before anything happened, but it was a message." Ice flooded Elena's veins. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because I didn't want you to be afraid. I've increased your security detail. You probably haven't noticed them, but they're there. Everywhere you go, someone is watching to make sure you're safe." "Dante." "I won't let anyone hurt you, Elena, I promise." He cupped her face in his hands. "You're the best thing that's happened to me in years. I'll protect you with everything I have." The sincerity in his eyes, the raw emotion in his voice, it shattered something inside her. This man would die to protect her, and she was the one betraying him. "I need to tell you something," she heard herself say. Dante's thumb brushed her cheek. "What is it?" "I'm working for the FBI. I've been wearing wires to our meetings, our dinners, our intimate moments. Everything you've shared with me, Every vulnerable confession, every private moment. I've recorded it all for prosecutors who want to destroy you. The confession stuck in her throat, too terrible to voice. I love you, she whispered instead. I know it's fast. I know it's complicated. But I love you, Dante. I need you to know that. Something blazed in his eyes, joy and relief, and an emotion so intense it took her breath away. I love you too, he said roughly. God, Elena, I love you so much it terrifies me. He kissed her with desperate hunger, and Elena kissed him back, pouring all her guilt and love and self-loathing into the contact. The wire recorded everything. The FBI heard her declaration of love to the man she was supposed to help imprison. She didn't care anymore. The next morning, Chen called an emergency meeting. Elena met him at a diner in Queens, exhaustion making her hands shake as she stirred coffee she had no intention of drinking. We have a problem, Chen said without preamble. The case review is in 2 weeks. We've spent 9 months on this investigation and we have nothing. No criminal conspiracy, no RICO predicate acts, nothing that would stand up in court. I've given you everything he's said around me, which is nothing. Legitimate business deals, charity work, family dinners. It's like he knows you're wired and he's performing for us. Chen's frustration was palpable. We need something real, Elena, something that proves criminal activity. Maybe there isn't anything. Maybe he's actually clean. Or maybe he's just smart enough not to trust you completely. Chen leaned forward. There's a meeting tomorrow night. Dante's sitting down with the heads of 3 other families. New York, Philadelphia, Boston. It's happening at a private estate in Connecticut. You're going to be there. Elena's blood ran cold. How do you know about this meeting? We have sources. What matters is that 4 crime bosses don't meet to discuss legitimate business. This is our chance, Elena. You wear the wire. You record whatever they discuss, and we finally get the evidence we need. He hasn't invited me to any meeting. He will. We've arranged for his regular translator to have a family emergency. You're the only person he trusts to handle sensitive negotiations. Chen slid an envelope across the table. This is the wire. New model. Completely undetectable. You'll also take this. He produced a small device that looked like a lipstick tube. Recording pen. Keep it in your purse as backup. Elena stared at the devices like they were venomous snakes. What if he finds out? He won't. You've been doing this for 9 months without him suspecting. 1 more meeting. And if I refuse? Chen's expression hardened. Your mother's treatment gets recalled. The fraud charges get filed. You go to prison. He paused. And we make sure Dante knows you've been working for us all along. Let him deal with the betrayal however he sees fit. The threat was clear. The FBI would destroy her either way, but if she cooperated, at least her mother would be safe. Okay, Elena whispered. I'll do it. Dante called that afternoon, his voice tight with stress. I need you tomorrow night. Important meeting with associates from out of town. My regular translator had a family emergency. Her father's in the hospital. The lie flowed so smoothly. The FBI had orchestrated this perfectly. Of course, Elena said. Whatever you need. It's in Connecticut, at a private estate. The meeting runs late, so plan to stay overnight. I'll have a car pick you up at 6. He paused. Thank you, Elena. I know it's last minute. It's fine, I want to help. After he hung up, Elena sat in her apartment staring at the wire and recording pen Chen had given her. Tomorrow night, she would attend a meeting of crime bosses. She would record evidence that could destroy Dante and his entire organization, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. The estate in Connecticut was everything Elena expected. Sprawling grounds behind high walls, security checkpoints every 100 feet, men with earpieces and concealed weapons watching every approach. The main house was a colonial mansion, all white columns and manicured gardens, looking like something from a history book. Dante met her at the entrance, kissing her briefly before his professional mask slid into place. The others are in the library. Standard negotiation. I need you to translate for the Boston representative. He prefers Italian for financial discussions. Elena nodded, the wire pressing against her ribs like a guilty conscience. The recording pen was in her purse, backup insurance the FBI had insisted on. The library was exactly what she'd imagined when she thought about mobsters meeting. Dark wood paneling, leather furniture, expensive scotch on the side table. 4 men stood as she and Dante entered. She recognized them from FBI briefing files. Vincent Calabrese from Philadelphia. Older, distinguished, with cold eyes that missed nothing. Marco Santoro from Boston. Younger, ambitious, with a reputation for violence. And Anthony Russo from the Bronx, Dante's own territory, his second in command. Gentlemen, Dante said smoothly, this is Elena Moretti, my translator for this evening. She'll be handling any Italian-English interpretation we need. The men assessed her with varying degrees of interest and suspicion. Elena kept her expression neutral, professional, giving them no reason to question her presence. The meeting began. For the first hour, they discussed legitimate business, construction contracts, union negotiations, real estate development. Elena translated Marco's Italian, kept her voice steady, her hands from shaking. Then Vincent brought up the Philadelphia ports. We have a situation, he said carefully. The Longshoremen's Union is being investigated. Federal task force looking into cargo manifests, shipping schedules. They're getting close to our import operations. Elena's pulse quickened. This was it. The criminal activity Chen had been waiting for. What's the exposure? Dante asked. Significant. If they connect the manifests to our distribution network, they'll have RICO predicate acts going back 3 years. Vincent's expression was grim. We need to shut down the operation, move everything to secondary channels. That'll cost millions in lost revenue, Marco protested in Italian. We should eliminate the investigation, not run from it. Eliminate how? Dante's voice was sharp. The lead investigator. Make him disappear. Send a message that this line of inquiry isn't worth pursuing. The casual discussion of murder made Elena's stomach turn. She translated Marco's words mechanically, her training overriding her horror. No, Dante said flatly. We don't kill federal agents. That brings heat we can't handle. We shut down the operation cleanly, take the financial hit, and move on. You're getting soft, Marco sneered. This is exactly why. Why what? Dante's voice dropped to something dangerous. Say it, Marco. Tell me why you think I'm unfit to lead. The temperature in the room plummeted. Anthony's hand moved toward his jacket. Vincent went very still. Elena realized with crystalline clarity that she was watching a power struggle that could end in bloodshed. I think, Vincent said carefully, that we should table this discussion for another time. We're all tired. Tensions are high. Let's reconvene in the morning with clearer heads. The men filed out slowly, testosterone and threat lingering in the air. Only Dante and Elena remained, the silence heavy between them. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Dante said quietly. The discussion about handling the investigator. That's not how I operate. I need you to know that. I know. Elena's voice was barely audible. You stopped it. Because I'm not a murderer. I've done things I'm not proud of, made choices that keep me awake at night. But I don't kill innocent people. I don't eliminate problems with violence when there are other solutions. He crossed to where she stood, taking her hands in his. Tomorrow morning, there will be more discussions. Probably arguments. I need you to translate accurately, but I also need you to understand something. What? I love you, Elena. Whatever you hear in these meetings, whatever ugly truths come out about my business, that doesn't change how I feel about you. You're the best part of my life. Guilt crushed her chest, making it hard to breathe. Dante, I have something for you. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket, and Elena's world stopped. I was going to wait until tomorrow, somewhere more romantic than a library after a tense business meeting, but seeing Marco's challenge tonight reminded me that life is uncertain. Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. He opened the box. Inside was a ring, a simple platinum band with a single diamond, elegant and understated and absolutely perfect. Elena Moretti, Dante said softly, will you marry me? Her mind went blank. This couldn't be happening. Not now. Not while she was wired, not while the FBI was recording every word. I know it's fast, Dante continued. I know my world is dangerous and complicated. I know I can't give you the safe, normal life you deserve. But I love you more than I thought it was possible to love anyone. Say yes, Elena. Marry me. She should say no. Should confess everything. The wire, the FBI, the 9 months of lies. Should give him the truth before accepting a proposal built on deception. But looking at his face, seeing the hope and vulnerability in his eyes, seeing the man she loved offering her everything. Yes, she whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. Dante's face transformed with joy. He slid the ring onto her finger, pulled her into his arms, kissed her with fierce tenderness, and against her chest, the wire recorded every moment. The celebration was brief. Dante had to make calls, coordinate security responses to Marco's challenge, handle the crisis brewing with the Philadelphia ports. Elena retreated to the guest room he'd arranged for her, locked the decor, and collapsed on the bed. She'd just accepted a marriage proposal while wearing a wire. The FBI had recording of Dante declaring his love, offering her a ring, asking her to be his wife. They also had recordings of criminal conspiracy, discussions of port operations and distribution networks, evidence that could destroy him. Elena pulled out her phone with shaking hands. She had Chen's number programmed as Mom's doctor, innocuous if anyone checked her contacts. Before she could dial, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. North Garden Gazebo. Come alone. Elena stared at the message. Dante had her number. Why would he text from an unknown phone? Unless he wanted to make sure this conversation wasn't recorded. She didn't sleep that night. At 5:45 a.m., she dressed in jeans and a sweater, left the wire and recording pen in her room, too obvious a risk, and made her way through the dark house to the gardens. The gazebo sat at the edge of the property, overlooking a small pond. Morning mist clung to the water. Dante stood with his back to her, hands in his pockets, staring out at nothing. I know, he said without turning around. Elena's heart stopped. Know what? About the wire, about the FBI, about all of it. He finally turned to face her, and his expression was devastating, love and betrayal and resignation all mixed together. I've known since the 2nd month. The ground disappeared beneath her feet. That's impossible. I was careful. You were perfect. Too perfect. Dante's smile was bitter. A translator who speaks fluent Sicilian appears exactly when I need one, after my regular translator mysteriously becomes unavailable? I'm not stupid, Elena. I had you investigated. Then why? Her voice broke. Why did you keep me around? Why let me into your life? Because I fell in love with you anyway. He crossed the distance between them, stopping close enough that she could see the pain in his eyes. I knew you were working for the FBI. I knew every word I said around you was being recorded. And I still couldn't walk away. I tried. God, I tried. But you were real, Elena. Your fear, your love for your mother, your guilt about lying, that was all real. I could see it. The meetings, Elena whispered. The business discussions. Completely legitimate. Every contract, every negotiation, every word I said in your presence was legal and above board. Because I knew you were recording. He touched her face gently. I protected you from my real business. Made sure you never witnessed anything that could put you in danger from my world or force you to testify against me. Tears streamed down Elena's face. Last night. The meeting with the other families. The discussion about the ports. Theater. Performed for the FBI's benefit. Dante's thumb wiped her tears away. Marco's not challenging my authority. Vincent's ports aren't being investigated. We fed the FBI exactly what we wanted them to. Here, discussions of criminal activity that will lead nowhere because the operations they're investigating don't exist. I don't understand. The FBI has spent 9 months building a case based on your recordings. When they try to make arrests, they'll find nothing. No illegal imports through Philadelphia ports. No distribution networks. Nothing but legitimate businesses operating legally. He smiled without humor. We've been investigating them while they investigated us, learning their methods, their sources, their weaknesses. Elena stepped back, her mind reeling. Then the proposal was real. Dante's voice roughened. Elena, everything I said last night was true. I love you. I want to marry you. The ring, the proposal, my feelings, those are real. But I'm wearing a wire. The FBI has it all recorded. I know. He pulled a small device from his pocket, a signal jammer. Which is why I asked you to meet me here, where your wire won't transmit, where we can talk honestly without federal agents listening. He knelt in front of her, taking her hands. I know you're working for the FBI, he said quietly. I know they forced you into this by threatening your mother. I know you're terrified and guilty, and you've been lying to me for 9 months. His grip tightened. And I'm asking you to marry me anyway. Dante, listen to me. He stood, pulling her close. The FBI's case will collapse in the next few weeks. They'll realize they've been chasing ghosts. You'll be released from your obligation to them. Your mother's treatment will continue through my hospital regardless of what happens between us. You're not trapped anymore, Elena. Then why propose now? Because I want you to choose me freely. Not because you're afraid, not because you owe me, not because you're caught between the FBI and my family. His forehead touched hers. I want you to choose me because you love me, because you want this life, this partnership, this future, despite everything you know about my world. Elena pulled back to look at him. You're still a criminal. The FBI might have false evidence, but you still run illegal operations. You still hurt people. Yes, Dante admitted. I do. I operate in gray areas and make choices that keep my family safe and powerful. I won't lie to you about that. I should walk away. Turn you in for the real crimes you've committed. You should, he agreed, but you won't. Because you love me too. Because you understand that the world isn't as simple as legal versus illegal, good versus bad. Because you've seen who I really am. Not the monster the FBI described or the saint I pretend to be in public, but the complicated, flawed man in between. He was right. God help her, he was right. The wire, she whispered. I left it in my room, but Chen will want to know why there's no recording from this morning. Tell him we had breakfast with the others. Discuss nothing of substance. He'll believe you. Dante's hands framed her face. Or tell him the truth. Tell him I know. See what happens. He'll pull me out. Charge me with obstruction. And I'll make sure the charges disappear. I'll protect you, Elena. I promised you that months ago, and I meant it. She thought about the last 9 months, the lies and the guilt, and the moments of genuine connection. Dante visiting her mother in the hospital, teaching her about Italian wine regions, holding her after nightmares, loving her despite knowing she was betraying him. "I love you," she said, the words simple and true. "I've loved you for months, even while I was lying to you." "I know. I could see it." He kissed her softly. "So marry me, Elena. Not because you're trapped or afraid or obligated. Marry me because you choose this life. Choose us." She looked at the ring on her finger, the symbol of a proposal made in front of FBI wires, a declaration of love recorded for prosecutors, a moment of truth wrapped in deception. "Yes," she said again. "I choose you. I choose us." Dante kissed her as the sun rose over the Connecticut estate, burning away the mist. And for the first time in 9 months, Elena felt free. Not because the lies were over, there would always be complicated truths in Dante's world, but because she'd finally chosen honestly. Chosen love over fear. Chosen the complicated, dangerous, real man in front of her instead of the safe life she'd been promised. The FBI would be furious. Chen would call it Stockholm Syndrome, manipulation, a failure of her cooperation agreement. But standing in Dante's arms, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and amber, Elena knew the truth. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't being manipulated. She was a woman who'd seen both sides of the man she loved, the criminal and the philanthropist, the dangerous and the gentle, and chosen him anyway. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," Dante said against her hair, "we plan a wedding. We protect your mother. We build a life together." He pulled back to look at her. "And we make sure the FBI's case falls apart before it touches anyone we care about." "That's it? That's everything." His smile was genuine now, the shadows gone from his eyes. "I told you last night, you're the best part of my life, Elena. I meant it. You always will be." 3 months later, Elena stood in a small church in Brooklyn, wearing her grandmother's restored lace veil and carrying white roses. Her mother sat in the front row, healthy and beaming, holding tissues she'd already soaked through. The FBI's case had collapsed exactly as Dante predicted. Chen had been transferred to a field office in Montana. The fraud charges against Elena had disappeared into bureaucratic limbo, and Dante waited for her at the altar, his eyes bright with love and promise. When the priest asked if anyone objected to the marriage, Elena half expected federal agents to crash through the doors. But there was only silence and approval from the 100 people who'd gathered to witness this union. "I do," she said when it was her turn, her voice carrying clearly through the church. "I do," Dante echoed, slipping a platinum band onto her finger beside the engagement ring. The priest pronounced them husband and wife. Dante kissed her thoroughly, and the congregation erupted in applause. Later, at the reception in a renovated warehouse Dante owned, surrounded by family and friends and the complicated web of Dante's world, Elena's mother pulled her aside. "Are you happy, mija?" Mama asked, her eyes searching Elena's face. "Yes," Elena said honestly. "I know it's complicated. I know his world is dangerous. But I'm happy, Mama. Really happy." "Then that's all that matters." Mama hugged her tightly. "Your nonna used to say that love doesn't care about logic or safety or other people's opinions. Love just is. You found that with Dante." Across the room, Dante caught her eye and smiled, the private smile he reserved only for her, the one that said, "You're mine, and I'm yours, and nothing else matters." Elena smiled back, twisting the rings on her finger. She'd worn a wire to his proposal. He'd known and proposed anyway. And somehow, impossibly, that had led them here. To a marriage built on truth after months of lies, to a partnership forged from betrayal and forgiveness, to a love that had survived the impossible. It wasn't a fairy tale. It wasn't simple or safe or what anyone would call conventional. But it was real. It was theirs. It was everything. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.